Hey, this is Nikki G from Better Commander. Did you know there are 112 cards that enter the battlefield as a copy of something? Well, now you do, and we're going to talk about clones. Now, there are all types of effects that create token copies of something, copy stuff on the stack, but today we're going to talk about creatures that enter the battlefield as a copy of this, that, and the other thing. All the way back to the beginning, this effect has been centered in blue. All the way back to the original clone, which is 3 and a blue for a creature, shapeshifter, it's a 0/0. You may have this guy enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. This guy knows your strengths, he knows your weaknesses, he knows your ex-girlfriend's favorite flavor ice cream, dude. This is a 0/0, which has some interesting implications for cards that care about power and toughness. It's a May ability, so you can get it out there to immediately die, but what sort of cruel master does that to their clone? It's also worth noting that the original can come in as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. And while we're on that subject, it's also worth noting that clone doesn't target the chosen creature, and as such can get around targeting restrictions such as if your opponent's creature has hexproof or something like that. Any enters the battlefield abilities of the copied creature will trigger when clone enters the battlefield. Now, clone copies exactly what's printed on the original creature and nothing more, unless that creature is copying something else or is a token. That's a whole different ball of wax. It doesn't copy whether the creature is tapped or untapped, whether it has any counters on it or auras attached to it, or any non-copyable effects that have changed its power, toughness, types, color, and so on. Now, through the years, we've had some interesting clone creatures. The most efficient, though perhaps the most vulnerable, is Phantasmal Image. 1 in a blue for a creature, illusion, it's a 0/0. You may have this guy enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's an illusion in addition to its other types, and has, when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. This is a pricey little card, man, $6 or $7. It's never gotten new art because a more perfect art doesn't exist anywhere in the Magic universe. What you have here is a big muscly dude, he's got a flail, and his gym bro. They're just appreciating each other's thighs, dude, as a platonic friend. And that's Better Commander, dude. I'm going to blow this up so you guys can see the truth, brother. Now, slightly less efficient, though a bit more broad, is the old Phyrexian Metamorph. You have 40 life, and what better way to use your life points than to cast 20 Phyrexian Metamorphs? I can't believe this is $10, man, but this can copy artifacts. You got this sweet full art, kind of neat looking, I suppose. You got the anime waifu reprint. Come on, brother. And that's Mark Zuckerberg's Metamorphed. Even more broad clone, you have Clever Impersonator out here, 2 blue for a creature, shapeshifter, it's a 0/0. You can have this idiot enter the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. So this can copy any permanent on the battlefield, those enchantments, whatever you want, man. This card's about $4. This never got another art treatment either, but it probably should get one because this one looks like a Scooby-Doo reveal. There he is, the Sakashima student. This guy's probably one of the most surprising clones. This guy comes down, you just yell at your friends, ninjutsu, And this is the ninja clone, brother. This guy is pricey as heck. I think it's about $15 or so. Probably because you can ninjutsu it out for 2 mana, and that's pretty nice. Some people call him Sakashima student, I just call him Sakashima stud, dude. The list goes on from here. You have Stunt Double out there, you got Vizier of Many Faces, Dax Duplicate, Evil Twin, there's a bunch of other ones. Then we're starting to get into clones that can only copy creatures you control, and there's a couple we want to go over. Now, the most impactful of these types of effects are those that produce non-legendary copies. Spark Double is coming back in Ravnica Remastered. I would snag a copy if it gets cheap, man. This card is fantastic. It's a card you can slot into a ton of decks, especially if you have an impactful, expensive commander. Look at this guy out there, Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. This is a $25 card, but it has a lot more going for it. It's got partner, it eases out the legend rule so you don't have to worry about that. You can copy whatever legend you want 1 billion times. Very pricey card, but a fantastic commander. Now, the older iteration of this card was a chase card forever for me, man. I could never get my hands on one, but I had a mystery booster reprint drop to about $5 or so, and I snagged a copy. It's only about $6 right now. Now, this is an Arcade Post special, man. I'm a fan going all the way back to Avatar. Whoa, what a gorgeous work of art this is. I'm gonna get Sakashima tattooed on my nuts, brother. And more recently, we have the incredibly slept on Aon Soldier. So this is 4 blue for an artifact creature, Aon Soldier. Looks like a typical Mormon to me. You may have Aon Soldier enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it isn't legendary. It's an artifact in addition to its other types, and it has Myriad. Oops, I lied. This card is about $5. This is a bonkers effect. Yes, it's 6 mana, but you could potentially have 4 copies of your commander running around out there with a real stylish haircut. I'm just kidding about the Mormon thing, man. Don't get all upset. But honestly, man, close your eyes and picture a Mormon. Looks like the Aon Soldier, right? So what are some of my favorite clone creatures in addition to the ones I've listed above? Well, body double for one, man. Who is this pretty lady the body double for? Sharon Stone? Remember her? Anyways, I'm a big fan of the mill strategies, and your opponents are just like you. They're humans, and humans like big stinky creatures. So use this to get the best effects of the creatures that you mill. Cursed Mirror, 2 and a red for an artifact, tap, add red, and it has, as this enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until end of turn, except it has haste. This is not strictly a creature, but I'm going to make my own rules here. Cursed Mirror is probably one of the best 3-mana rocks that came out in recent years. It's interesting, and that's enough for me. This is every man's instinct when he meets his twin. You gotta snuff out your twin, dude. I tried that. I realized it was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, man. I cut it out. I apologized. It's not an evil doppelganger, dude. That's The Rock. Now, if you've been playing Commander for a while, you remember the Progenitor Mimic, 4 green and a blue for a creature shapeshifter. It's a 0/0. You may have this enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except at the beginning of your upkeep, if this creature isn't a token, create a token that's a copy of this creature. This can get out of hand really quickly. Yes, it costs 6 mana, but you're in Simic, dude. If you don't have that to spare by turn 4 or so, you ain't Simicking your way out of a paper bag, brother. Calidus Assassin, 4 blue and a black for a creature, human shapeshifter assassin. It's a 3/3 with flash. It also has polymorphine, dude, just like the streets of Chicago. You may have this enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, when this creature enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target creature with the same name as this creature. Listen, man, I built 2 custom Calidus Assassins for my Inquisition Warhammer 40k armies, and this perfectly captures that flavor. You get a clone, you get a kill spell stapled together, plus she's cute. But she's not as cute as the Mimeoplasm, 2 black, green, and a blue for a legendary creature Ooze. It's a 0/0. As this guy enters the battlefield, you may exile 2 creature cards from graveyards. That's any graveyards. If you do, it enters the battlefield as a copy of one of those cards with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to the power of the other card. This guy has the ooze, man. He needs penicillin. Go to the ER. I can't overstate my love for this OG commander, whose design transcends time, just scales up as commander gets better and better. 5 mana for this thick boy ain't too bad. And coming out of nowhere, the Mirror Hall Mimic, 3 and a blue for a creature spirit. You can have this guy enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. It's a 0/0. This has Disturb for 3 blue, and it comes back as Ghastly Mimicry, which is a blue enchantment aura. Enchant creature at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. If this guy would be put into the graveyard, exile it, you fool. When I first started playing Commander, cards with flashback or cards you could reuse from the graveyard commanded a higher deck building value. It was almost as if you scored 2 cards. You know, if you're going to stick a clone in there, you might as well stick this in there too. This is a similar situation. Maybe it's not a gold star card. You know, it's not going to go in every blue CEDH deck, but it's a neat option nonetheless for later in the game after a board wipe. So why should you use clones? Well, you're going to be copying your stuff, you're going to be copying your opponent's stuff. And if your opponents are playing big, expensive decks, they can't yell at you for copying an Elish Norn or a Vorinclex or whatever, because they're running it. Those dingbats. You know, what are they going to yell at you for copying it with a 35-cent card? Anyways, man, I'm happy you guys are getting all this knowledge. What are you going to do with it? You going to use it for evil? Or are you going to use it for good? That's the question. Well, either way, enjoy it. That's what you're going to do. Snicky G from Better Commander, signing off.